Let's say you make a formula, and that formula makes something amazing. Are you going to make major changes to this formula? No! That would be silly. And the Pokemon Company agrees for you. Wow, I literally just shilled for Pokemon. This is the end for me. I'm a puppet now. Make me dance for eternity. Today is October 3rd, pretty chilly day out there. It's fall now, it's not warm anymore. It's also a special occasion for Pokemon fans as it marks the 11th anniversary of Pokemon XD, Gale of Darkness. A direct sequel to 2004's Pokemon Colosseum, Gale of Darkness borrows a lot from its predecessor, and I mean a lot. But originally, it wasn't supposed to be that way. From an interview given to IGN after GDC in March of 2005, Nintendo Executive Vice President of Sales and Dream Smash Bros. Fighter, Reggie Fils-Aimé stated that XD wasn't a sequel to Colosseum, and yes, they did misspell Colosseum in the article, but a brand new build. This was 6 months before the American release date and 5 before the Japanese release date. Add to the fact that demos were being rolled out as early as May 2005 during E3 of that year, and you can see why Gale of Darkness morphed into a sequel. For a game possibly made in less than 2 months, it's pretty good. For a Pokemon game, it's an enjoyable experience. Story-wise, the game takes place right after Pokemon Colosseum in the Ore region. It's been about 5 years since Wes did his whole badass Pokemon trainer shtick, and now we play as Michael, who has absolutely no relation to Wes at all. He's a young boy who lives in a Pokemon lab with his mom Lily and sister Jovi. Apparently he's also pretty good at battling, but you know, simulations can lie too. The game begins with some introductory ridiculousness, like a boat flying in the sky and suddenly disappearing, as well as basic fetch quests. Go get your sister for me, Michael. That is, until you meet with the head professor of the Pokemon Lab, Professor Crane. Crane entrusts you with the Snag Machine, which looks much different than the one in Colosseum. He details the rise of Shadow Pokemon, or Pokemon that have had their hearts artificially closed, and the importance of saving as many as possible. As Crane heads towards the Sim Machine to test out the Snag Machine with Michael, he's suddenly assaulted and kidnapped. You attempt to stop the bad guys, and even manage to snag a Shadow Teddiursa, but the criminals escape. As they rush away in their armored vehicle, the lab staff is left bewildered. Michael's mother vows to finish the Purification Chamber research, and here it is, the first storyline arc of Pokemon XD. Your mother tasks you with retrieving a machine part from the part shop in Gaetion Port. She also sends Jovi along with you. As you arrive in Gaetion Port, Jovi bumps into a big brute of a man named Zook. Listen, with a haircut like that, I'm not messing with him either. Luckily, a mysterious old man and his associates arrive and make quick work of Zook. Jovi tries to thank them, but the old man deems it necessary. A mysterious encounter indeed, that will definitely not come up later at all. As you enter the part shop, there's no one working there. Another customer expresses his annoyance and then regales his tale of finding different evolutions for an Eevee. Oh, by the way, you start out with an Eevee. He then gives you a choice to pick any of the evolutionary items for Eevee. I opted for Nice and Wonderful Espeon because I'm the kind of guy that likes to breeze through battles. Heading out of the shop for now, you see a young man hitting switches on turning platforms in the harbor. That man is Pear, who runs the part shop with his grandfather. He gives you the machine part and you're back in action. After returning to the lab, your mother asks if Teddiursa's heart gauge has fallen to 0 and explains that it needs to go through a purification to become a normal Pokemon once more. She sends you to a Gate Village, which is home to our favorite bewildered old man, Egan. Egan puts Michael through a few trials to get the Shadow Pokemon's heart to open up. After the Teddiursa is purified, Egan tells you of Mount Battle, a facility designed to host Pokemon battles. Clearing through the first section of Mount Battle, you meet Vander, the first area leader. He tells you about finding a Cipher research facility back in use and seeing the armored truck from earlier. It's pretty obvious Professor Crane is there, and we're gonna go save him. Before we get into the next part, I gotta say, having half the locations in the game already in use from Colosseum may hint towards Gale of Darkness having a very quick turnaround, but hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. As Michael arrives at the Cipher Lab, he's greeted by the weirdest henchmen in Pokemon history, the Hexagon Brothers. Although they may be bad at counting, they sure know how to battle. Wait, Nope, sorry, these guys are basically here to fill out your party with more shadow Pokemon. Defeating the Hexagon brothers opens up the Cipher Lab, which hasn't changed much from its Colosseum days. The important thing to note is that this is the focal point of the story, where we begin to hear of Cipher's plans. It involves a Pokemon codenamed XD001, and will be the first Pokemon to refuse purification. This is all being designed by Lovrina, head of the Cipher Lab and the Shadow Pokemon division of Cipher. Engaging her in battle is the only way to save Crane. After defeating her, she abandons the Pokemon Lab. You return home with a surprising discovery. The Purified Chamber has been completed. Now you have a new method for purifying Pokemon. With Crane safe at the Pokemon Lab and the Purified Chamber research complete, your goal is obvious: take down Cipher. From here, the story is fairly straightforward, so let's talk about the game itself. Pokemon XD had a very short development period, potentially ranging from less than 2 years to less than 6 months. Obviously, the development timeline is murky, but from Reggie's comments earlier, it was slated to be a completely new kind of console Pokemon experience. According to archival website The Cutting Room Floor, the game has little to no cut content aside from some unused portraits for certain Pokemon. However, the website's entry for Pokemon Colosseum contains a number of Pokemon that were originally slated to be in that game, but were moved to Gale of Darkness instead. It could be that the original game had some leftover data that proved useful, or it may also allude to the fact that Gale of Darkness needed extra game data to bridge small gaps in a rushed development period. Although the game does borrow a lot of areas from Colosseum, there are 9 new areas for players to explore. The game also adds some new features and mechanics, the most notable being Michael's wimpy scooter compared to Wes's motorcycle. Alright, all kidding aside, Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness did add wild Pokemon encounters, but not in the way you might expect them. 3 of the new areas are known as Poka Spots, discovered by Pyrite Town's Duking. The concept is fairly simple. The player receives Poke Snacks, which can then be placed on the circle in the middle of any spot. A spot monitor is also given to the player, which sounds off when a Pokemon is eating the Poke Snacks. Rushing back to the spot will engage the player in a wild Pokemon battle. The problem with this mechanic lies in the fact that the selection of wild Pokemon is not very diverse. Each spot has only 3 different kinds of Pokemon. The spot monitor's inability to distinguish between spots with and without Pokemon is also a hindrance. With all that being said, it's nice to catch Pokemon you don't have to walk around to purify. Gale of Darkness also does away with saving at PC terminals in favor of the essential save at any time mechanic, which I'm all for, honestly. It also adds new Colosseum challenges during and after the main story. It also made battling a lot more streamlined. I found it was almost impossible to lose a battle in this game. The game also adds a couple of in-game trades and event Pokemon, and reveals a few new Pokemon as well. Since the game released in 2005, the 4th generation of Pokemon wouldn't start for another year. With that in mind, Gale of Darkness marks the first appearance of any Generation 4 Pokemon, and this honor goes to Bonsly and Munchlax. Munchlax can be found randomly at any Pokespot attempting to eat the Poke Snacks, while Bonsly is a bit more troublesome. During the story, Michael meets the creators of ONBS, Sek and Net, both formerly of the Kids Grid in Colosseum. After Michael saves Fnac City from another Cipher admin Snaggle, ONBS receives information from a young trainer and her grandfather about their missing Bonsly. It's soon revealed that the SS Libra, the ship from the beginning of the game, has been found in the middle of the desert. After modifying his scooter, Michael manages to find the Bonsly, but not before losing the snag machine to the reformed Teen Snag'em. Seriously, he just stands there and lets the Gloom use sleep powder. Oh, and he loses the Bonsly. The only way to complete this side quest is to lay Poke Snacks at Poke Spots, wait for the monitor to go off, and hope that Bonsly shows up. Once it does, you must walk very slowly and catch the Bonsly. After returning Bonsly, you receive a Bonsly Battle Bingo card. Although it's a dumb reward, it's the first time you can use a Generation 4 Pokemon in battle, which is pretty cool. Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness also features some new music from composer Tsukasa Tawada, including a more uplifting battle theme, a revision to the Colosseum battle theme for the Cipher peons, and a very stark contrast to all the other pieces. Oh, and now there's a rumba theme too. There's also a new theme for Myra B, who's not part of Cipher, but rather wanders the land with his henchmen and picks up any lonely shadow Pokemon. Combined with some of the pieces from Colosseum's soundtrack, the new songs are very well composed and add to Tawada's expansive library of great music. The cast of characters in Gale of Darkness include more diverse personalities. Your sister is very aloof and carefree, the Cipher admins are a bit more wacky, and even the minor characters exude charisma as well. Side note, I really want Chobin to be in another Pokemon game. Now for the fun part. Are you ready? It's time for the ending. Obviously, spoilers ahead, so skip to this time code in the video. After losing the Snag Machine during the Bonsai Bonanza, Michael finds Team Snag'em's base with a little bit of help and rushes through all the grunts, culminating in a battle with leader Gonzap for the Snag Machine. He earns Gonzap's respect, and the Snag'em boss approves of his battling skill. Heading back to Cipher's Key Lair, the largest shadow Pokemon factory in Ore, Michael is confronted by two bodybuilder guards. Luckily, Gonzap and his henchmen arrive and dispose of the guards quickly. After clearing through the Key Lair, you confront Gorrigan, another Cipher admin and head of the factory. After defeating him, the screen behind Gorrigan turns on, and it's the old man from Gateon Port. Now known as Greevil, he challenges Michael to find him and defeat the head of Cipher, which incidentally also happens to be Greevil. Unfortunately, his hideout, Citadark Isle, is basically unapproachable due to rough seas. After consulting with the eccentric Professor Kaminko and Pear's grandfather, you receive the Robo Kyogre, a robot capable of sailing through any current. There's also a Robo Groudon, but it needs a little bit of tweaking. Before you head out, Professor Crane asks you to return to the Pokemon Lab and gives you a Master Ball. Citadark Isle is a long dungeon to clear. There's a bevy of trainers, and a large percentage own shadow Pokemon that need to be snagged. With multiple areas and puzzles, it will take about 3 to 5 hours to get close to Greevil. You must also challenge and defeat all of the Cipher admins, as well as Greevil's associates, Ardos and Eldis. Finally, it's time to challenge the Grandmaster, Greevil. In a grand gesture befitting the head of Cipher, Greevil calls upon his ultimate creation, XD001. The tower atop Citadark opens up, and in flies Shadow Lugia. Did you really not see this coming? He's on the cover art of the game. Luckily, you have a Master Ball, and you can catch Lugia if you'd like. Unfortunately, the Master Ball glitch from Colosseum doesn't work in XD. Enraged, Greevil challenges you with his team of shadow Pokemon, including the legendary bird trio, Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres. After defeating Greevil, he goes a little bit wacky, while his associates, now revealed to be his sons, argue over the state of Cipher, and that, my friends, is Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. Or is it? The game does boast post-story content, although it seems a bit more expansive than need be. After waking up in your own bed, you receive an email from Egan, who invites you to the Ore Colosseum, an area featuring only the toughest of trainers in Pokemon XD. It's very tough and should only be attempted with the best of Pokemon, although if your party's max level is 60, the other Pokemon stay at level 60. Clearing the first round of trainers triggers a quest from Egan's wife, Beulah. She explains that many of the Pokemon in a gate village can no longer express their cries. You quickly find out that the trainers used a defective device known as a Pokemon translator. The device originated from Dr. Kaminko. Kaminko explains that the translators can only be removed by using voice cases that match the Pokemon's cry. Unfortunately, not all the cases work, and more Pokemon from around Ore begin to experience the same problem. Kaminko provides another remedy, the Cry Analyzer. Using this, Each silenced Pokemon will trigger a short but ridiculously easy quiz. After all this, only one Pokemon remains silent, the Wobbuffet in a gate village. The last solution Kaminko gives you is for the trainer to mimic the cry. Miraculously, or obviously, this works, and all of the Pokemon can make noises again. Returning to Beulah will net you a lucky egg, which increases the amount of experience gained in battle. If you haven't done so already, you can snag the rest of the Shadow Pokemon, and you should have about 82 total. Once that happens, the Mirror B radar, which you get earlier on in the story, goes off. It alerts you that Mirror B is in Gateon Port. He sits atop the lighthouse, dancing and waiting to fight. Mirror B sends out a level 55 Shadow Dragonite, and once defeated, scurries away. There, now you have all the Shadow Pokemon. Another part of the post-game is purifying Shadow Lugia, and it's all thanks to the Purified Chamber. So to start out, let's explain what the Purified Chamber really is. It has 9 different slots, collectively known as sets, and in each set you have a flow and tempo. Adding a non-shadow Pokemon to any set will increase the flow and tempo naturally, and to achieve maximum tempo, you must chain 4 Pokemon in a super effective circle. So for example, you start out with a fire type Pokemon, chain that into a grass type Pokemon, chain that into a water type Pokemon, chain the water type Pokemon into a ground type Pokemon, and then chain the ground type Pokemon back into the fire type Pokemon. With that chain and many others, you'll be able to achieve maximum tempo. Once all 9 sets are at maximum tempo, you can play Shadow Lugia in any set and it'll be purified instantly. The last post-game section pertains to Mount Battle. In Colosseum, clearing Mount Battle gives you a Ho-Oh. In Gale of Darkness, it's a bit different, since both games give you all the Johto legendary Pokemon, including Ho-Oh, Entei, Suicune, Raikou, and Celebi from Colosseum, and Lugia from Gale of Darkness. The logical conclusion would be to give you the Johto starter Pokemon, Chikorita, Totodile, and Cyndaquil. In order to get all 3, you must clear Mount Battle 3 times over, 300 plus battles. I'm just happy I never have to do that again. Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness takes what Colosseum achieved for the series and adds to the experience. With new mechanics, new areas, and a clear-cut story, it expands the lore of the Ore region and puts an end to the Cipher storyline. However, it does fall in some areas, notably the Poka Spot experience, a less challenging battling experience for a large portion of the game, and a post-game that feels a bit empty. Still, for a game that was quickly created, it's an experience any Pokemon fan will enjoy. You did a good job, Pokemon XD. I just hope I never have to clear Mount Battle again. Thanks for watching this video on Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. If you want to see some more Pokemon content, I've done a review on Pokemon Colosseum, which you probably should have watched before this, but it's okay, it's your life. I'm also planning on doing more Pokemon content in the future, so make sure to stick around for that. Set your ID value to false, and I'll see you next time.